Shot! And a goal! Seattle has their first! All I gotta say is Porter can't say shit.
He's a tough kid.
Welcome back into the simulation where things are getting real, or perhaps I should say real, here in Rio Tinto Stadium, which is known as Crown Lane, inside the simulation, as Seattle Sounders make the trip to take on Real Salt Lake. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Harvey alongside Jackson Feltz here on Scuttlebutt Sims. And Jackson, welcome back for Week 9 action.
Hey, Andrew. How's it going? Excuse me. Sorry. I brought some Dick's Burgers here to Salt Lake. I heard the food sucked here, so I decided to take some local cuisine here to the broadcast today. Sorry about that.
Dick's Burgers, a food that famously travels very well. You saw there the Western Conference table. Sounders unbeaten, but still on the wrong side of the red line. Lots of matches to be played, though. Real Salt Lake, meanwhile, winless. 0 wins, 5 draws, 3 losses, as they are looking to hopefully turn things around here at home against the Sounders side that settled for a 4-4 draw. And Jackson, here is their starting 11.
Yeah, we look at this team here, some similar names that we know from the playoff game last year, and really the 2-0 loss at Seattle seemed to just crush them so much that they've started 2020 just is still in the doldrums of how poorly that they played up in Seattle in a game that really Seattle never felt out of control. RSL never got on the front foot there in that playoff game.
Well, you might hear his dulcet tones in the background. James Woollard, Sounders PA man, so talented that we travel him to away matches, and he is reading out the Sounders starting 11 right now, which is unchanged from last week's match, Jackson.
Yeah, this health of this team right now is fantastic. Just nobody getting hurt. Jao Paulo, a guy that we didn't really talk about much last week in that Vancouver simulation, want to get talking about him, but overall, this is the first choice team for Brian Schmetzer. Hopefully, we'll see more than one sub today from the head coach and his staff, but really looking forward to seeing what these Sounders have today.
Well, Jackson, get the Dick's Burgers out of your mouth. It is kickoff time. Sounders on the road against Real Salt Lake.
Okay, they're gone. No more. Time for.
I'm sorry. I had to take that opportunity. I would never get another moment like that in my broadcast career. We are underway once again. Rio Tinto Stadium, known as Crown Lane, here inside the simulation, and goals, Jackson, have been near and dear to this RSL side. They've only scored 2 all season.
Yeah, boy, this is an offense, Andrew, that just has not gotten going, and only 5 goals given up. So the defense isn't that bad either. I mean, 5 goals in 8 games is a pretty good mark. But this is an RSL team that, despite how strong the defense has been, at some point, you got to get something going on the offensive end. And so for Seattle, it's the element where if you can get on RSL early in this game, and I know you're on the road and the early goals are tough to come by in Major League Soccer, especially in the simulation, but if you can score early like you did against Vancouver, 2 minutes there last week, that would be a fantastic boost for the Sounders. I'd be feeling pretty good with any goal in the first half if you're Brian Schmetzer here tonight.
Obviously, RSL have had their troubles. Sounders, meanwhile, scored 4 goals last week against Vancouver, but it wasn't enough to win. They settled for a 4-4 draw, and that just because of a late equalizer from Rui Diaz as a cross sprays wide for a goal kick.
Yeah, it's a poor cross there. We've seen it from RSL a lot here in the simulation so far this season. As you've mentioned, there are no wins on the season for Real Salt Lake. So for the Sounders, I don't know how much action Stefan Fry is going to get. 4 goals given up against Vancouver, not a very strong game in the simulation for the Sounders last week. So this will be a good test for Seattle. If they can, how they weather the storm after last week, and obviously the coaching staff working so much with them back at Starfire this last week. So how can they do here? And another attack for RSL right there just dies before it even gets started.
Rui Diaz lays off for Lodero, the return. Morris making his way up the left side. Ball's a little bit slow coming to him. Combining with Svensson. Jovan Jones. Sounders combining very well here. Can't find anything to show for it. Svensson back wide for Morris. Nearly tackled away there.
You see this dynamic passing here right in that prime assist zone. They're trying to find that. And just didn't get that final pass connected there, Andrew.
Yeah, strong combination play up the left side, but it all fell apart. Now here's Rusnak leading the counter charge the other way. Going to try a through ball to the right side. Swiped away from Corey Baird, who was looking to break into the right alley.
Just another failed execution on the offensive end for Salt Lake. I mean, gosh, if I'm, and I know there's an interception, but if I'm an RSL fan, how many times are you banging your head against a wall watching this so far in 8 games this year?
Justin Miram, the new arrival from Atlanta United, switches the field for Baird. Here's Beasler. Beasler fighting his way through here to the byline. The cutback cross. Baird fires to the back post. It's turned in by Rusnak. RSL leads early at home.
Well, we knocked Jamar Gomez Andrade last week a bit, and unfortunately we have to knock him here a little bit as well. I mean, I'm not sure how, they're able to get that much space inside the box, and where is the man marking there? We'll have to go back and see what the robots were doing here in this moment. Just how do you get by? How do you create that much space if you're Baird? And then where's Calvin Lerdam and João Paulo just leaving Rusnak that wide open? Like, I mean, look at Andrade standing right next to Javier Arriaga there. Nobody takes Rusnak. Where's Lerdam has to be, on the mark of just seeing Rusnak on the other side of that. The fact that no player was within 7 yards of Albert Rusnak right there, I'm speechless. What's going on with these robots?
Well, certainly someone is bound for the reprogramming chambers the way that opening 13 minutes is gone. Sounders trail 1-0. Rusnak gets his first goal of the year. Again, just the third of the season scored by RSL.
Excuse me, Andrew. I need to take another bite of this Dick's Burger. I don't think the Sounders have known that the game has started because I think somebody on the sideline might be having a couple that I brought from Seattle.
Here's Christian Roldan up the far side. Early cross in. Morris looking for it, and it's swiped away at the backside, courtesy of Aaron Herrera.
But keep possession. This is good. This is good. Stay patient. Don't take too many risks. It's only 1 goal. You scored 4 last week. On the offensive end, you should be able to get something going, but just be patient with it.
Another giveaway from Jordan Morris, and they've played Baird into space here. Baird working his way up. Jones in hot pursuit. Defenders in the middle. Baird rounds it, crosses to the back post. Fry comes for it. It's a big tip. Stefan Fry, 2 clean sheets on the season and a couple of very big saves to help preserve that 4-4 draw last week, Jackson.
Yeah, Fry was certainly big there in some key moments, and I don't think that maybe only one of those 4 goals was his fault last week.
Rusnak looking for space for a cross. Defender overruns him. Chip to the back post. Baird is there, and it's gone wide. Corey Baird nearly making it 2-0 there. In the end, just can't get his header on target.
Boy, Jovan Jones just, he got beat by about 6 inches there, and that really could easily be 2-0. Sounders on the defensive side, 4 goals last week, and really that second half was so many breakdowns. Certainly in the reprogramming unit here in the last week out at Starfire, we thought that these issues would be sure short up, but certainly there are still some things to work out here.
Well, time seeming to move almost twice as fast here in the first half of this game, almost as if something has been adjusted from a watchability standpoint for our viewers tuning in, who we welcome into our broadcast, by the way. Leardom doesn't get to that ball, chipped in. Stefan Fry makes the save under duress.
Yeah, back and forth action right here, Andrew. Seattle hasn't been getting anything going on the offensive end here in the last 10 or 2 minutes. So it's just a matter of when you can finally keep that patience with the ball and then build on the offensive end with that dynamic passing we saw 15 or 5 minutes ago.
This is Baird. Ball's intercepted there by Morris. Morris has had a couple of giveaways today. He's had some difficulty playing himself into this game.
He has, and last week we saw his movement there coming up the wing, and we really saw how well that they were connecting. And here's, right as I say that, there's that exact thing that they were trying to do last week that worked out so well.
Morris has it under control, sends it into the middle. It's headed away by Anoa.
Yeah, Morris, just exact thought. You know, they get him running up the wing. You have Jones send that ball over the top, have Morris just catch it. He does it so well at putting himself in between the ball and the defender, and that time he was able to just send the cross in. Needs to be a little bit more accurate on that, but that's what you want to see from Jordan Morris over and over and over again, to stretch that defense and make them start to worry about the wing there, and then that just allows Nico Lodeiro to work a little bit more in the midfield. João Paulo gets a little bit higher, and Christian Roldan has more freedom on the right as well.
I'd like to remind fans tuning in tonight that we have another match going on at this very time inside the simulation. Timbers Whitecaps going on, and we'll have updates for you on that match as this game progresses.
Yeah, Vancouver, 4 goals last week. What can they do here against Portland? They've had a decent start to 2020. Let's see now, Seattle, find the right pass here. Find the right, be patient.
Lodeiro strikes for goal, turned wide by Zach McMath, but it's headed in by Morris at the backside. Jordan Morris finding the rebound. He equalizes at the half-hour mark.
Boy, you see it come off the head of Jordan Morris, and it feels like time is ticking so slowly, Andrew. You think that McMath is going to come back and be able to get that. Let's watch how slowly this goes. After the save, Morris heads it, and that felt like about 5 minutes by the time that ball hit the back of the net. But boy, Jordan Morris put just enough strength on that to send it in, and we are level, Andrew.
McMath just caught out, made a great save on the initial effort, and well, they all count the same in the back of the net. Jordan Morris doing just enough with the redirect there. Makes it 1-1.
Remind me to give him one of my Dick's Deluxes later on tonight when we hit the plane, Andrew. He just earned one with that goal.
Jackson, don't be giving the players junk food, whether they're real or robots. They're highly attuned athletes, and they really need to watch and monitor their intake.
Yes, clearly we all need to monitor that at this point. You know, it's funny, since the quarantine started, I don't know about you, Andrew, I have had no healthy food. I don't think I've had a single piece of fruit, a single leaf of lettuce, or anything.
Dangerous cross there.
Anything healthy whatsoever.
By the way, here is one of those updates you see here. It looks like the Vancouver Whitecaps have grabbed a 1-0 lead down at Providence Park. And it's Jordy Reyna, just a nice header finish at the backside there. So Vancouver on top 1-0, and under the current scoreline, poised to go clear at the top of the table in the Cascadia Cup. Wow,
look at that. Vancouver, after 4 goals, they're getting on Portland here. Interesting to see how that game keeps going and see what Portland can do to come back. And Vancouver, obviously, many defensive issues as well. So how will they recover?
Everton Louise, gone up to Beasler. Real Salt Lake, plenty of time for a response for them, but you think they would have wanted to hold that lead for a longer period of time. Flag stays down along the near side. RSL have a throw-in.
Love to see this from Jordan Morris. Look at Jordan Morris. Creates out there, and look at way Jordan Morris is playing right now on the defensive end. Here he comes on the offensive end. Such good from number 13.
Rui Diaz trying to stretch out Anua. Morris. Space for the cross. Roldan is there at the backside, but so is Danny Toya. Herrera gets it up to Louise.
Would have liked to see somebody challenge when that ball kind of came up in the air there. Still, it was kind of anybody's ball, and they kind of just let Real Salt Lake take that there inside of their own box.
Ticking toward halftime. These two franchises that, although their fortunes have diverged somewhat in recent years, they kind of inextricably tied together the shared heritage. Garth Lagerwey, obviously, in his time as an executive at both clubs, has to be the obvious touchstone, Jackson.
Yeah, sure, certainly. You know, the work that he did to build that program, and it still really relies a lot on young, really talented players. I mean, we see it with Corey Baird. We've seen it with other cases as well, where Real Salt Lake, you know, has a foundational system, Andrew, as we see another cut in.
It looks like the Timbers have made it 1-1 in front of the home crowd down there at Providence Park.
Yeah, look at that.
J-Mark under a little bit clearance on his end for the Sounders.
Yeah,
and Diego Valeri, no surprises there.
None, Andrew. And you know, we were just talking about can Vancouver's defense, you know, keep up, and you know, with their offense, and you know, no, they cannot. They gave up 4 goals last week, and there's another one. Diego Valeri, obviously, no stranger to scoring in Cascadia games.
Lodeiro combining with João Paulo. Some space now, ball towards Svensson, overhit for him.
This is still good, though. Be patient, find the right pass, make the right move, get a dangerous ball, and see if you can get a lead at halftime here if you're Seattle. Oh.
Lodero wanted to return there to Svensson. Luis cuts it out.
Not what was needed there from Nico Lodero. He makes that pass 9 times out of 10.
Will be a minimum of 3 minutes of added time.
Beasler working with Krylak. Far side, Leardom there, doing battle with Justin Merrim.
And there's Joao Paulo. We see him connecting there, and hasn't found, I don't think, his great footing with Seattle yet, but once he starts linking with Ruiz and Nico Lodero in the midfield, things will start working.
Roldan looking for space for the cross, fighting off Toya. Low and inside for Lodero. Back heel, Kelvin Leardom. He scored a couple. Leardom off the post, it's going in! Kelvin Leardom puts it off the woodwork and puts Seattle on top and then ghosts through a defender.
Wow, what a goal, Andrew. That'll be on his highlight reel. 20 years from now when he looks back at the moments of his career, MLS Cup 2019 will certainly be at the top, but this one will be right there as well. What a goal from just outside the box, uses the post. What a sensational goal from the Sounders right back. A dream end of the first half for your Sounders.
Well, finishes don't get any prettier than that. Kelvin Leardom has the Sounders firing on all cylinders after what was an admittedly slow start for them in this match. They lead 2-1 in the 45th.
They do, and this is exactly what you want. Now you have some momentum, and whistle for halftime should be coming just in a moment here, really, and there it is. Final meaningful kick of the half.
Well, Jackson, like we said, slow start for Seattle. Some kinks that had to get worked out, but they really responded down the final 15 there.
They really, really did. We talked about being patient and not rushing for that equalizer. They didn't. They were patient. They got momentum. When we saw Jordan Morris's and that header go in, from there, everything started to take off for Seattle. They're sitting pretty for a team right now that's only scored 3 goals in the year. I like being up 1 with 45 to go.
Well, Sounders leading 2-1 at the break here from the Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah. We'll throw it back now to Aaron Lingley in the Scuttlebutt Sims studio with a roundup of other action from around the league.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Jackson. In due time, I will come up with a presidential pun for your guys' partnership. Anyway, let's get across the MLS. First up, we have Montreal visiting New England Revolution in Foxborough. 0-0 result, as you can see, and that shank by Fagundes is probably the most exciting part of the match. Very boring to watch. The Revs sit at 6th place now, and the Montreal Impact sit at 8th place in the East. Now, coming up next, we have a more exciting match. We have the Chicago Fire versus the LAFC, Los Angeles Football Club. Now, LAFC lit up the Fire in Chicago, 11 shots to 3. None of those 3 actually hit the target. We had Kay and Blessing in the midfield. They ran circles around the Midwest club. Now, Kay didn't actually get on the score sheet either by assists or by goals, but Blessing did. He assisted both goals for Vela and Rossi. So I give him my man of the match on that one. Now, based on the current score lines, they're in Sandy with you guys and down in Scumland. LAFC and Chicago, they sit at 7th place in their respective conferences. Now on to Colorado and visiting FC Dallas. The Class 5 Rapids are riding the top of the league at the moment. Kai Kamara, the only Rapid striker I can remember not named Connor Casey, snags a hat trick in this one, both with his head and his feet. Kai Kamara currently now leads the league with 7 goals. Dallas did redeem themselves though. They buckled the net once, but ultimately they did not have the breath to keep up with the Raging Rapids. To add insult to injury, Ziegler did force the referee's hand when they were down 3-1 by a clumsy tackle in the box. This allowed Kai his opportunity at a hat trick, and he did take advantage. This quickly erased any hope of a comeback in Commerce. Now, this early season performance by Colorado is certainly a surprise to us all. Both they and the Sounders are the only clubs who can claim to not know defeat thus far. However, the Sounders do have a lot of ground to make up to see if they can catch up with Colorado. And finally, we have Sporting KC and the visiting Minnesota United Loons. This was a pretty tepid affair in Kansas City, with the home club staving off the Loons in a 1-0 victory. Gutierrez nets the lone goal of the match via PK to keep 3 points in the KC Cauldron. Now let's go back to Sandy, Utah with Andrew and Jackson and see if the Seattle Sounders can bring all of that and a bag of dicks home.
Well, we are back here at the start of the second half at Rio Tinto Stadium. Sounders leading 2-1 over Real Salt Lake through 45 minutes of play. Back for the second 45, Andrew Harvey alongside Jackson Feltz here on Scuttlebutt Sims. And Jackson, you saw there in our Around the League segment, Colorado Rapids running away with the league so far this season. 21 points from 9 matches played. They're undefeated, and obviously I think if you look at the team from last year, that might have come as a bit of a surprise, but the simulation is never wrong, Jackson.
It never is, Andrew, and we saw what happened towards the end of 2019, and certainly the simulation is making that a factor, that they are a team to be reckoned with here, and we didn't think that they were going to be the LAFC of 2020, but, here we are. This is the real world. This is what we're living in.
And the question on everyone's minds as we continue the 2020 simulation, can anyone catch the goal-scoring god that is Kai Kamara?
Never would have expected. Never in my life. Got 2 offsides here in the first 3 minutes of the second half here. Calvin Leerdam gets it here. Christian Roldan was just a few moments ago. Certainly Sounders coming out of the gate here in the second half, trying to get that third goal for a team that has only scored 3 times on this year, 2 times prior to this game. They know Salt Lake is not a very offensive team. So I think that for Brian Schmetzer and this coaching staff, if they could get a third goal here early, you're sitting pretty good here for the last 40, 45 minutes here on the road if you're able to be up by 2 goals.
Looped it in here for Morris, inside for Rui Diaz, but it's right at Zach McMath. McMath didn't really get too much of a chance to talk about him earlier, but he, obviously an MLS veteran in his own right, over 100 appearances for the Philadelphia Union and long spells at other clubs around the league, but now he's tasked with coming in and has the unenviable job of trying to replace legendary Nick Raimondo.
Yeah, and Raimondo, a guy who, of course, had his final game being in Seattle in the playoffs last year, but only 5 goals before this given up by McMath this season so far.
That cross has gone out. That is not a dime from Corey Baird.
Yeah.
Tenuous relationship between RSL and dimes, Jackson.
Yeah, not pretty. We won't. We'll just. I won't comment, but I will say that no, Andrew, that was not a dime of a ball there from Corey Baird.
Well, thank you for your 10 cents. 2 cents, Jackson.
Well,
Svensson,
that was a dime pass.
Except Morris.
Here we go.
Looping ball, looking for Christian Roldan at the far side. Roldan 3rd in the league with 4 assists right now. Leerdam has a goal, trying to lull that ball to Svensson on the far side. It'll be headed out back to midfield. And we're entering the phase of the match where you might start to see some substitutions come on as both these managers look to make a significant impact. Going to be Giuseppe Rossi coming on for Nick Beasley.
Yeah, you see that sub there for Salt Lake. I wonder, on the subject of subs, on what we'll see from Seattle's side. Only one last week. That was Harry Shipp for Jordan Morrison. What was it, the 61st minute? And that match could have used a Will Bruin or a Nuhu. So at what point does Schmetzer make his 3 today? That's going to be something that I watch for here in the final.
On through for Roldan here. Roldan tried to go back to his left. Rui Diaz, the return. Lodero, right back to Roldan. Paulo. Lodero. Stalwart defending from RSL. Paulo, 3 defenders around him, still picks out Lodero. Poked through here. Roldan is there, and so is McMath. Jumping on the loose ball. Jackson, pardon the interruption.
No, for sure. That was a dangerous series there, and you had the ball there to Christian Roldan. In a perfect world, you'd have Roldan touch that maybe a half a second earlier and maybe get a chance for goal. But unfortunately, McMath is able to step up and just take that ball away. But some really nice passing there in the final third from Seattle. that's what you want to see every time down, because very, very soon, if you're able to do that again, you're going to get a goal. So very good from Seattle. They're in control. They're on the front foot. Keep it going. Hold possession. And Salt Lake should be giving up that third here soon. But you just got to not do that. You can't do easy giveaways. You can't let it bounce right back out. But again, I like that RSL has nobody forward right now. So even if you give that up and RSL clears, you're just not going to have it on the other end from them.
Just past the hour mark here at Rio Tinto Stadium. Kelvin Leardom, early cross in. Rui Diaz can't track it down. A lot of players out there had trouble tracking that ball down.
Yes, clearly the depth perception is an issue in the simulation, Andrew.
Good news is if it can trouble the robots, I feel less bad about my own lack of depth perception.
Yes, well, Rui Diaz, probably should have been a little bit higher up on that. Is that offside? Yes, thank you. Boy, that looked dangerous there, and you saw Gomez Andrade's arm go up, and he was right on there. By a long margin, that's offside. 2 players, no matter who that would have gone to. So, yeah, thank you. Good to see that the robot referees. I had a few words after last week's game, Andrew. We saw way too much time and then way too little time added there in the first and second halves of last week's game. I haven't had too much to complain about from the man in black here tonight, Andrew.
That ball partially cleared by Leardom, and like you said, the men in black tonight, the men in blue, the boys in blue, you might say, perhaps. Yeah. And obviously, Jackson, important to remember that ahead of the 2020 season, once the assistant referees were replaced with robot linesmen, any fan who protests is actually banned for life from the stadium. As we see Harry Shipp come on for Jordan Morris, same move we saw last week, Jackson.
Same exact one. So I'm interested from Brian Schmetzer, and I believe last week also happened at 2-1, and we felt like that might be a little bit early of a defensive sub for Brian Schmetzer. Of course, we talked about Harry's offensive capabilities as well, but in a game where it feels like the Sounders are on the front foot right now, where you could really use a third goal, I just wonder if this is too early of a sub, taking out a guy like Jordan Morris, who's had a pretty darn good game here so far today.
Ladero bound for the corner flag. He's won a corner, first of the match.
Good for Seattle. This is what you want now. Use a little bit of time here. Let it go. See if you can get the match in. And looks like the second sub for RSL right here.
The venerable Kyle Beckerman, 38 years of age and MLS's all-time leader in minutes played. Coming on here, checking in, seeing if he can claw a goal back for the home side. Ladero, left-footed cross. McMath, a brave punch at the far side.
Andrew, can I just say, you know what I love? I love that the simulation brought back the real hair of Kyle Beckerman, because Kyle Beckerman has and always will be the man with that hair.
Iconic for Kyle Beckerman. Dangerous ball cut out there by the Sounders back line. And Seattle trying to work their way downfield. Rui Diaz, short for Ladero. Awkward hit ball for Roldan, and it looks like the Timbers have taken a 2-1 lead at home against Vancouver. A nice finish there. The scissor kick, and Valeri's on a brace at the back post.
Nice from Valeri there. That'll challenge Kelvin Leardom. Probably not overtake it, but that'll be probably the Timbers' submission for goal of the week. A nice goal there from Diego Valeri, and we're still talking about the Vancouver Whitecaps defensive issues, but here in Seattle, we were going back to the Harry Shipp conversation that we were talking about last week, or last game against Vancouver, Andrew, where I thought it might be a little bit too early for the defensive sub. So I'm kind of wondering what Schmetzer's doing here in this moment, and if he's going to make then a more offensive sub, if they are really thinking and looking for that third goal. Because I would hate to be holding this lead here against a team that's only scored 3 goals all year so far as they near the end of their 9th game, and have this be 2-2. I would hate that.
Beckerman picks out Rossi. He loses out to Arriaga, and Arriaga, under pressure there, just puts the ball into touch. 14 minutes plus stoppage time to go here in the simulation.
Yeah, unless you're going to go heavy defensive and really just challenge RSL to come at you, which I don't like. I don't think...
Ball in there. It's gotten beyond Fry. It's wide of the left post. Stephen Fry, another massive stop in front of goal.
Yeah, I don't think you can play. A nice save there by Stephen Fry. I don't think you can play not to lose right now. You got to play to win.
And meanwhile, another update in the Cascadia Cup. Near thing there. from the far side, and some consternation resulting from the corner kick.
Need better clearance there from Gustav Svensson, but at least they win that ball. Whew, that was a dangerous moment here. Oh, look at that in Vancouver, Portland.
Yeah, Vancouver winning the penalty on that corner kick, and they tuck it away quite cleanly. Ali Adnan, it's level 2-2. Meanwhile, a ball up the right side for Roldan. He'll do enough to keep it in play.
How about Vancouver's season? High-scoring draws seems to be their MO right now.
Roldan, a toe poke cross there. McMath, diving parry. Beckerman will turn and have a chance to knock it clear.
Andrew, that's Harry Shipp, on the back post coming in, trying to score that, and that's where we talk about Jordan Morris's speed, because that's a goal.
Odero through ball for Rui Diaz! Rui Diaz, the goal being disallowed for offside. A lovely through ball. Finds Rui Diaz at the near post, and yes, he was, just barely. Another perfect spot from the assistant referee. So just a one goal for the Sounders, and meanwhile, the Whitecaps, the Timbers, have taken the lead once more. 3-2.
Scenes. So much going on right now. For Seattle, it was a good call, no Rui Diaz goal there, but how about Portland? Now here's another chance.
Odero fires, McMath turns it wide. Jackson, this feels like decision day 2 years ago. And the Sounders were fluctuating between fourth and second in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, thank goodness this isn't decision day and we don't have to have that stress right now, but certainly a moment right there, my goodness, where it looks like Rui Diaz might have that third goal for Seattle. Odero almost gets it. Portland goes up on Vancouver, whose defense is terrible right now. Can Seattle finally get this third goal? Come on, Nico, put a good ball in here.
Outswinger from Lodero, right to the penalty spot. Initial header, won by Krylak. Bouncing ball coming in, and McMath has it.
Harry Shipp there on that, and Harry Shipp a few minutes ago, they was coming in back post, and listen, I don't mean to knock Harry Shipp, but Jordan Morris and the speed he has, if he was in that left winger role and he was coming in back post, he has a little bit of separation instead of Harry Shipp. That might be a goal for Seattle there a few minutes ago. It's Harry Shipp running in, and it's not a goal. So I'm kind of going to go back to this, but I think it was too early of a sub.
Dangerous cross there, it's fired, and it's a goal. Cut in from the left side, didn't clock who fired the last touch. Joao Paulo.
Oh!
Nice touch, nice finish at the left post. Just tidy, and the Sounders grab a 2-goal lead.
Finally, that third goal, Andrew, and it's Joao Paulo, the guy that I've been wanting to talk about here for a while. He comes in this year from Botafogo. You know, he spent a little bit of time early in the real world playing the number 10, and we saw what he could do in the midfield. We saw that he even scored a couple times. Such a dynamic player, and we see now playing a little bit further back, but when he can get up onto the offensive end, Andrew, he can do so many different things in this offense, including score goals. A very, very important one right there. It looks like with just a few minutes left, this is going to be 3 points for Seattle. Glad to see the new man coming in, the Brazilian, getting that goal, exactly what this team needed to kind of breathe a sigh of relief, relax a little bit before they wrapped up this victory.
Meanwhile, more action from down the road in Portland. Whitecaps pulling level once more. It's 3-3.
I feel like we're watching Sounders Whitecaps from last week here this week, but sub in the Portland Timbers. What a game. 90th minute their equalizer from the Whitecaps. Incredible. What a game they have.
Simulation provides, Jackson. The simulation provides.
Boy, I got Dick's Burgers today. I got a Sounders win, and I got nobody winning out of Vancouver, Portland right now. How could this be any better? Even the first of 4 minutes of stoppage time. Pardon me, Jackson. Yeah, and I was gonna say I even got Kyle Beckerman's classic hair. I mean, how could this day get any better? Oh boy, what happened here?
Well, it looks like it is about to get better. Perhaps not from a Sounders perspective, but from a goal lover's perspective. Timbers taking a 4-3 lead, 7 goals in the Cascadia Derby over in Oregon. Meanwhile, Sounders in the 3rd minute of stoppage time looking to secure a 3-1 victory on the road against Real Salt Lake.
8 goals given up for Vancouver. Boy, trash defense. Just trash.
Jackson, I encourage you to maintain some level of journalistic impartiality here.
Yeah, but listen, I'm going to celebrate. This is 3 points, Andrew. And we got a Cascadia loss back there for Vancouver, but listen, this is a great win for the Sounders here. Good goals all around, and great to see only 1 goal given up today.
Well, Seattle, who had a sluggish start to the match today, went down 1-0 in the 13th minute on a goal to Albert Rusnak, but they answered back with aplomb. Jordan Morris with a holy roller, bouncing header in the 30th minute. Kelvin Leardam just before halftime, and there you see the standings now. All 3 Cascadia clubs clustered around one another and in playoff contention after today's matches. Sounders get their 2nd win of the year, Jackson.
Hate to say it, but thank you to the Portland Timbers, because of course that win makes it so the Seattle Sounders jump the Whitecaps there for that playoff spot. So really nice to see Jordan Morris goal here. I said it earlier, but it felt like forever to go in the back of the net. Felt like McMath was going to reach back and swat that thing out of there. And when you were talking about the response to the goal from RSL, and it was just an absolutely fantastic response. This goal from Kelvin Leardam is your MLS goal of the week for sure.
And just another look at it here. Off the left foot too, curling through defenders and inch perfect off that left post. Even slid straight through a defender's legs on the celebration too. Gotta love the attitude. And of course, this near thing from Raul Ruidiaz would have been a great insurance goal. Just slightly offside, as Ruidiaz will remain with just 4 goals on the year. That is a club best.
Yeah, it is, and we're about to see it here from Joao Paulo, but you know, the guy who came in working the midfield puts himself right in the perfect spot, jumps right in front of Kyle Beckerman. Love to see Beckerman getting embarrassed, and that is the winner.
Well, that is going to do it for us here from Scuttlebutt Sims. For Jackson Feltz and our producer, Aaron Langley, I'm Andrew Harvey, saying so long, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Stay safe, everybody.
Boom!